Wow.
Well, you know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna kick it right off to Craig and Stacy. It's just a very easy job. All right. Well, that. Christina, you set?
I'm here.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, hello, I'd like to welcome everybody and call this the Madison Board of Education Finance Committee meeting to order. It is 5:35. We have a reasonable agenda here. The first is to approve the 2024-2025 budget calendar, which has been distributed with key dates. And at this point, I'll pause and open up the floor to any questions or comments.
Is this pretty much similar to past years in terms of timeline? Any changes we should note?
No, it is pretty much similar as you shared, just following the typical calendar. We, as you can see, are pretty far into it actually already.
Yep.
And have had several meetings and discussions with COPE, with our admin team, kind of getting ready for a lot of work ahead of us. I think it will be a difficult budget to put together. We've talked about that a few times. We're waiting. Obviously, it's very early to hear about rising costs for things like health insurance and fuel and things like that. But we do know have a pretty good handle on some salary roll up and things like that. So we're working through that and doing our best to have as good a picture for the board as we can when we get to that.
The dates are more or less unchanged for milestones and submissions and things like that. So we'll get into the nitty gritty the next couple months. Christine, do you have questions or?
No, it looks like a good plan.
Thank you. So then, second item would be to discuss and possibly recommend to the full board the 2024-25 budget guidelines, which are included in the packet, and they are threefold. The first is the more or less annual operating guidelines that don't change much year to year. The second would be Board of Education priorities, which emerged from the retreat. And the third would be the Administrative Council's objectives, which have changed according to circumstances. Craig, I can read them off, or you can, sure, that's what you think is appropriate.
Yeah, I just want to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, everyone's looking at the document is dated October 17th.
Yes,
We have that.
Okay, so in the packet is an earlier version.
October 4th.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Christine, you have this one that's the 17th.
Yes, it was emailed out to you earlier today.
Okay. No worries. Go ahead. You can continue, Stacy. That's fine.
We didn't talk about who wanted to. Okay.
Lawyer.
Or Craig, sorry about that.
Actually, I think you typically lead us through
Yes.
this.
Okay,
All right,
oh
Stacey.
boy. Okay. If I can make one other note before we go into the guidelines, the first item, I think we typically approve it at the
Oh,
finance committee, but we can go back. to
right,
that.
we should. All right, well, let's go ahead. Thank you. Let's go.
Do that. Oh, okay,
Recommend that to the full board. Yeah,
the
right.
calendar.
The calendar. Yeah. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar as presented this evening.
Throw a second.
I'll second.
All right. I'll forego the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries 3-0. So we'll bump that up for tonight's meeting. Thank you. All right, thank you, Jason.
Okay, I can give you a general overview, but I do think Dr. Cook would be better than.
I will definitely wait.
Yes, then I would be. The first section up above, this is very similar, maybe almost identical as last year. These are our annual operating guidelines that we try to move forward, just to remind everybody what we're trying to do. As far as aligning with enrollment and mandates, I really don't think there's anything new in the first third of the page. The middle page, again, I'm gonna ask Dr. Cook if he wants to chime in, but these were focuses on after you guys had your retreat a couple weeks ago. And then the bottom part were items that we felt important that would be highlighted in the budget that will be presented for discussion and approval. So I'll turn it back over.
Sure. So as Stacy said, the top third is pretty much unchanged from last year. We did review that and felt that all made sense continuing. The board priorities, as Stacy said, came out of the retreat. You'll notice that we included AP test preparation in that, and so there is the inclusion of $15,000 in this current budget for AP placement. We plan to present for expansion of that. The original recommendation was $30,000 a few years ago, and the board approved 15,000. So as we've seen some results on that, we want to share that with the board through the budget process. We know we have reorganization coming in 2025, and so you'll see some programmatic changes and cost changes, mostly in CIP at this point, but some pieces we are getting ready for, and continuing our SEL work and consideration for the pre-K program and needs that we will be expanding pre-K eventually, whether it's in the current half-day format, because we are receiving more students coming in that require pre-K services. So we eventually go from 3 classrooms to 4. As we see that trend continue to grow, but also eventually want to have discussions on pre-K and medicine and expansion opportunities. In terms of the last third, this is what changes the most from year to year. So we know and have known for 3 years that the ESSER funding will discontinue June 30th, 2024. And so we're looking at 4 positions which are left for this current budget to be included in next year's budget. So that is 2 social work positions and 2 interventions, academic interventions positions, both at the elementary level. We also have, this is a new piece for the October 17th budget guidelines, and we have talked quite a bit about this and have been looking for outside information from the State Department of Ed or Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, because they're doing some advocacy for school districts. Also CABE doing advocacy for school districts, but we do not know at this point where we stand with the reading waiver. And so from what we are hearing, that if we were not to receive the reading waiver, they would not grant another year of extension on that. We have to implement something for September 2024. And so we thought it was the right move, prudent to put money into this budget for that, with the hopes that we will receive the reading waiver and be able to remove that funding, which will not be insignificant. I mean, I think we're looking at upwards of about $800,000 to outfit us with the reading program that one of the reading programs of the 5 that we've looked at. We looked at all 5, and the one that we felt would be most comparable to our current program is about an $800,000 cost for training, for materials, for consumables for that first year. So the cost would go down, but it would definitely be that around that range for year 1. Again, it is our hope to get the reading waiver. We put a lot into that. We put a lot of time, effort, money, even in terms of putting that forward. We feel we have a good reading program.
We're about a year into the weight, right? We began,
Yeah.
right,
This is the year that we requested the waiver and then asked for the waive, yeah.
right. And then there are additional maintenance costs associated with the if we don't get the waiver and we have to use the big box materials every second or third year, or
Every year we looking at certain consumables. those purchase.
Yeah, right. So that is a significant impact.
Yes.
Okay.
what, can I ask a question? Sorry. What's the total all-in cost then that we're looking at? Additional
For-
to 800,000.
That it would be the 800,000 for year one for everything,
Okay.
and that's buying classroom libraries through this company, the teacher manuals, things like that. I think the maintenance after that, I'm not sure. I think it drops significantly, but we're still talking about 200,000, I believe.
Just need to buy a bond that pays that coupon.
So we're again, for lots of reasons,
Yeah.
expecting, hoping to receive the reading waiver, but I think it's important that we put that forward as a potential cost. We are at this current time supposed to hear in November, but we were supposed to hear in June, we were supposed to hear in July/August, we were supposed to hear in September, and now we're supposed to hear in November. So we're anxiously
I'm a Cubs fan. It'll come, it'll happen.
Hold out.
We'll continue our curriculum cycle, as you can see, we start the writing process for science, CTE, STEM, and any additional state mandates. So there's some big areas coming up in that. We continue to be in a pretty good shape with technology after the Promethean project. So it's really pretty much maintenance of effort, but we do want to bring that up because some big ticket items obviously in that area, but we're not expecting a major increase in technology this year coming up. But we continue our security related projects with technology. And then, again, as we've been trying to do is stay ahead of plan and cycle maintenance needs. It's been, that account was not adequately funded, in my opinion, for a lot of years. So we're trying to build that account up, even though major school projects going on, that we want to be in a place where we can do what we can do each and every year going forward, even with less skills.
And then Stacy, I have a question for you. So last year, towards the end of the fiscal year, we got hit with custodial and supply increases. What do we do if that happens again? I mean, are there any contracts or anything coming up that
Oh, are you talking about like the trash?
trash?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that we know of right now. I mean, looking at the way things are going, I mean, it could happen. The prices are so.
Yeah.
Out there. I know we did build up the custodial supplies in last year's budget, so
Right.
that will remain in the base and that
Okay,
will grow
okay.
forward. That's our plan as of right now, anyway.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to take it.
yeah, thank you, because I know, Steve, yeah, you did build that in last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's. anyways. And then I know that there will be questions about the data on effectiveness for the social worker and
Yes.
positions.
Yes.
And building the operating budget, so.
Yes, no, I think that we were appreciative to get those questions, I think, at the end of last year. And so we've been able to share those with principals and staff and have started accumulating that information. So we'll have those answers for the board when we get into that.
All right. So thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Shall we call this to a vote and recommend this to the full board?
Guidelines?
The guidelines,
Yeah.
yeah. Can I have a motion to recommend the guidelines to the full board?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much.
Guys,
Oh, yeah.
I just love this document. I think it's really helpful. It's clear. I appreciate it. Will it be shared somehow? Public?
Yes, we put it on the website. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good survey, thank you. All right, the third item is to discuss and take possible action on the request for end of year funds. And per Stacy, I think we're going to return about 227,000 to the town. Thank you for that information. I knew it off the top of my head. But Dr. Cook, what other uses or you foresee for that?
So I thought in light of the CIP discussion, I didn't want to just put it into one area. I wanted to give, have the finance committee and ultimately the board have some discussion on that. So well, first of all, let me back up a little bit. So every year, district with in Connecticut and June 30th, any unexpended funds, unencumbered funds have to be returned to the town. It is always the case that you go through that process where it's just like your household, you don't know in June 30th what your bill is going to be for electricity, for gas, for many items, for transportation. So there's so many things that on June 30th, because we were working until June 30th too. So also, it could be custodial overtime, it could be all those, everything that we do, could impact that. So we budget as best we can, but we don't know that information. And so to land on $227,000 is pretty good for a $60 million budget, So we don't want to land much lower than that,
Right,
So I appreciate Stacy, who's never able to take much time off in late June, July, or
I
many
always say,
times during the
yeah,
year.
I always say the analogy is like landing on a carrier.
Yeah.
It happens every time.
And so we appreciate her work and constant communication, but we have returned $227,000. Last year, we asked for money back for our security staff, our security. And so I think that was important. We then ended up budgeting that. The board has the option of not doing anything and just allowing that to go back into the general fund. I know we've also talked about the special ed fund because we started this year off due to new legislative action that we didn't know when we were doing our budget. We didn't know even June 1st that our 18 to 22-year-old program, the students are allowed to remain with us through the end of that school year. So in the past, if a student turned 22 on September 1st, we would work with that family and that student to transition out around September 1st. In this scenario, they could stay till June 30th. So there's a significant cost to that. We know that cost because we know the students in the program, and so that alone was $128,000. And so our first thought was to potentially ask for that back for special ed, to increase our special ed reserve account, which now is $350,000. So that's 350,000. So we thought to include that, increase that to 550 to have that reserve fund going forward. If we needed it this year, then obviously it would be utilized this year, but the hope would be not to utilize that this year, but to have the 550 going forward, because special ed costs have gone up since the creation of that fund, and 350 could represent 2 students being outplaced. So you could have a family. If the town has 2 students outplaced, then that could use up the 350. So I think 550 would maybe be a more appropriate cushion. So that was our first tack, but then also in light of some reductions to CIP and some tough choices we had to make, we also thought about potentially furniture, for specific projects. So those are the 3 options available to the finance committee, and that's where we stand right now. There's a long way to go for furniture for Brown, so that but I didn't want to leave that in light of last night's discussion, which I know Galen, you were aware of. Christine, what we had done, you'll hear later, for the CIP was we reduced, or we're recommending to reduce an amount in the cafeteria furniture for Brown. So we basically, as things stand now, we'd be using older furniture for older students at Brown School starting in 2025.
Well, so let the discussion begin. I would favor putting in the special ed reserve personally, but that's. That's just my. Take on it.
What's your?
It would be the special ed reserve. I think at some point we need to make that increase. I think that we have the best argument this year with the town for that, those funds to be returned. You know, I would, you know, I threw out the furniture piece because I just wanted to make that connection, but I think we'll have other opportunities maybe to make
A
that
little
happen.
bit later.
Yeah.
I agree with Galen and I think Emily, you agree with that as well. And Dr. Cook, I think it definitely has to go into special ed. I think that's where it's probably needed the most, although we don't know. But like you said, there could be an instance that, you know, 2 kids come into the district and that 2 kids is equating to that number. So I'm in full support of putting it in special ed.
And if I can, I mean, we still have some time, so we can talk about it again next month. The auditors are out here currently this week.
My God,
So
sounds
we
like
will-
wolves.
Yeah, I know.
They're
Yeah,
prowling
I used to be one of those. So we will not have the financial statements issued. Probably earliest the middle of November, it could be December. So once that's finalized, I don't foresee any change in the 227,000 that we're returning. But I do think we should at least wait until the audit is complete, so you have time to think about it, but I'm thankful that we're starting the discussions now.
So maybe the thing to do would just be to, maybe make a recommendation to the full board, discuss it tonight, and then take action. Another
Yeah,
meeting, is
sure.
that?
I think that works very well.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll report and recommend, report of the balance, then recommend, that these were special ed reserves. So do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right. Am I mumbling, Christine? Can you hear me all
No,
right?
not at all. I can hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll check it. All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 3-0. All right, so that wraps up our formal agenda. Are there any questions in the audience? So. Well, in which case, let's adjourn the meeting. It is 5:55. Thank you very much.